Welcome, everybody. My name is Bill Butrymowicz, and I am the founder of Loom. On this podcast, you are going to be able to take a ride with us through all of our wins and all of our losses in real time. It's going to be a chronological story of us building the next big beverage brand. We're super excited. I've considered doing this for a while now. We're about a year and a half into our beverage brand journey, and I've had this idea in the back of my head for a long time, and I think that we're at the right spot to where we're able to release this and get people involved and let people know what we've been through. And I'm hoping that one day I could look back at this, or my kids will be able to have this, and it's all documented from the start through the finish of the stress and the constant problems that founders and business owners see on a day-to-day business. And hopefully there's other people who are going to start their own brands or start their own business, and they can relate to this. Because often I can tell you, as someone who owns a business or is the vice president of a business, and now on this journey of starting my own brand, it is very stressful, and sometimes it is very lonely as well. And these are some like raw emotions and stories that I think can resonate with some of you guys. So I also feel like the brand founder story is very important, and I want people to know where this brand comes from and who we are and why we created it. So, this is going to be very raw. And I think that that's cool. I think people like authenticity. I think people could resonate with it. And I'm excited to share all of the goods and the bads and the highs and the lows with all of you, because without all of you, none of this gets done. And I'm extremely grateful for your support. So we have so many people that are always asking, like, how's it going? What's new? Tell me what's going on. And typically it's in like a casual situation where we're just, catching up at a barbecue or at work. But I feel like this will give a real in-depth look as to what really is going on a day-to-day basis in the Loom world. So we're excited to get this going, and I hope that we can get as many of you involved and you could all be part of this, and we can help lift each other up. And some of it's going to have my personal life is going to be involved in this as well, which is a little strange if I'm being completely honest. But that's the kind of stuff that I think really touches people. And if I have the opportunity to do that, then it's my obligation to do whatever is possible and do whatever I can to help people feel a connection with the brand. And that's what we're looking for. So we're trying to create a community here. And I feel like this is just another opportunity for me to get out in front of you guys and to have you guys on board and let you know how much I appreciate your support. The first episode is going to be about myself. And I think that it's always weird when you're talking about yourself. It feels a little, self-absorbed, let's say. But I think it's necessary. So I grew up in Toms River, New Jersey, and went to high school north. I grew up in the Silverton section of Toms River, which we were very proud of, as anybody from Silverton knows. And my dad, he was a truck driver for Pepsi out of South Kearney. And eventually he ended up quitting his job and tried to open up his own distribution company out of our garage in our house. It was interesting. He would basically like pick product up from the supermarkets that was on sale, store it in our garage, and then would go out and try to sell it to pizzerias and bagel places and whatnot. And I remember specifically when I was a little kid, me going into the driveway and getting the cans of soda and rolling them down the driveway and watching them explode, not knowing that that was his inventory and that's how we were planning on eating. So it was, there were a lot of ups and downs, obviously. But eventually he started having some success with the brand Snapple in the early 90s. And Snapple was such a huge New York, New Jersey based brand. It was featured on Howard Stern, and it was featured on The Sopranos and Seinfeld. And it was really this like cultural thing. Iced tea is not as big around the rest of the country as it is in the New York metro area, or if you go down to like the Carolinas and Georgia, sweet tea is really popular down there. But for the most part, iced tea is a New York metro Northeast kind of product. So he started having some success with that. And one thing led to another. He ended up getting his own self-storage unit, which was bigger than our garage. And he would store product there. And eventually we moved into a 15,000 square foot warehouse in Lakewood, New Jersey. And I remember going there as a kid, and, you know, we had probably 20 Snapple flavors there, and we would load trucks, and he would go out and sell the product to the customers and then get on a truck and then deliver it. And my mom would answer phones, and my grandfather worked there for free, and he would sweep the floors. And it was funny. He would answer the phones, and like a Chinese restaurant would call in, and he wouldn't know what they were saying, and he would get all angry and like hang up on them. But it was cool. Like as a kid, I got to bring my rollerblades and like skate around in the warehouse because the floor was really smooth. I'm a big hockey guy, so that was always cool. But I watched him, steadily grow his business. And then in about 1998-ish, he had the opportunity to acquire the exclusive distribution rights for the brand. And when he did that, it basically put most of the other small distributors out of business, or he acquired them. And from that point, all of the independent brands that were looking for distribution would come to us and looking for us to bring their products to market. So like we were one of the first Fiji distributors, and Sobe was like a really big product back in the day. I mean, people look at it now and don't think much of it, but back in the day, it was really doing very well. We had some Sobe wrapped trucks, and I remember loading those cases as a little kid, and they were like in 18-ounce glass bottles. They were super heavy. So we ended up having some success with that. And from there, all these brands would come to us, and I was really fortunate that I had the opportunity to meet a lot of the founders and a lot of the, vice president of sales or CEOs of these companies. And I was surrounded by some really cool people, and we had this amazing team. So our general manager, Bob Mooney, his dad was involved with the Snapple distribution business as well. He's been with us for over 30 years. The name of the distribution company is Seaview Beverage. And Bob is still with us today. And we ended up, we hired Pete Marino, who's our runs our sales team. And he's been with us for over 20 years, and Crystal Hansen. And we hired these, and my cousin Kim. And it was like we really created the core of Seaview Beverage. And these people have been with us for their entire lives pretty much, and they've dedicated their lives to our business. And I'm extremely grateful to have these people around me. They really know what they're talking about, and they're professionals at what they do. So they have seen all the stuff that I'm about to tell you as well. And you learn a lot. You learn a lot from the brands that come before you. As a distributor, there's brands that are constantly coming in, looking for distribution. And then you have the unicorns that eventually end up getting acquired by a Coke, a Pepsi, KDP, Nestle, et cetera. And you end up losing those brands if they go to a different distribution network, which is why you have to constantly have your finger on the pulse of the industry, so that you have, I call it like planting seeds. Like you have to constantly have new brands that are about to be built, because there's nothing keeping one of your other brands from being acquired and potentially, losing all of that volume. So we're a volume-based business. We have to keep our trucks filled to, that's how we work. We don't work off of huge margins. We work off of lots of volume. So we cover the Jersey Shore area, Ocean and Monmouth County, which is basically from like Long Beach Island down by like Tuckerton up to the Raritan bridges. And yeah, we've seen a bunch of cool brands come and go, and we were involved and we distributed and introduced huge brands like Body Armor to the market, and Celsius and Bang, which was crazy. I'm sure they're going to teach a class about that in Harvard one day. It's like that company went from having a $4 billion exit offer to going bankrupt. And it's crazy. This is a very, very competitive and interesting. The beverage business is really competitive. So we've seen a lot, and we've seen what works and we've seen what doesn't work. A lot of times these young brands come in and they start off hot, and then they try to go too big too quick. And one of the things that I've learned at an early age was you have to own your own territory. You have to own your backyard, and you have to have an inch wide, mile deep mentality. You can't be a national brand right away. You have to start off and be a regional brand, which there's nothing wrong with. And I mean, look at like Polar Seltzer, for instance. Polar stayed pretty much in New England for about 100 years before they became a somewhat national brand now. And they have an extremely lucrative, strong, great foundation, well-run family business. But some of these brands would try to get too big too quick, and they would spread themselves too thin, and they would never actually penetrate and own certain markets, and they would basically run out of money. What's weird about the beverage industry that may not pertain to other industries is that slotting is a big thing. You have to pay to get into these supermarkets to get shelf space, especially in the Northeast. And you're up against the Cokes and the Pepsis of the world. So that makes it very hard for young, independent, bootstrap brands like Loom to gain market share and to get visibility. So we definitely have an uphill battle, and it's one of these things to where you have to build it up and down the street in independent markets, such as like pizzerias, independent convenience stores, bagel places, etc., and try to get the brand awareness and get people behind you and resonate with people. And often when it comes to creating new products is you need to find white space. You need to find an opportunity in the market that doesn't already exist and that's where you have the best chance to succeed. Often a lot of these people come in, especially like the first thing that comes to mind is the energy drink craze. Red Bull comes in, they have this amazing product. They've broken the $1.99 price barrier, and they create this new market. From there, Monster came in, and now, I mean, there's functional energy for every kind of category. There's women functional energy and Alani Nu, and there's Celsius, and then, Bang. And now, I mean, you're talking Bucked Up, which is geared more towards hunters and rural areas. And then you have, Lucky Energy. And I mean, these are very, very competitive markets. I knew that if I was going to come out with a brand that's not something I would be able to succeed in, because first of all, I didn't have the capital to compete against some of these big brands. So what I started doing was I started running Seaview along with our team, and I would look for the new up and coming brands. And I ended up getting pretty good at it. It took a long time. It was literally a lifetime's worth of work, but we started figuring out what brands were going to make it and which ones weren't. And the way that I did that was brands would consistently send me their samples in a brown box in my office, and I would open them up and I would taste them, and I would look at the package, and I would, originally your first instinct is to taste the product and say, oh, this is good or this is bad. And if it was good, you would think that this is going to make it. This is going to be a really big brand. And if it was bad, you would say, oh, this sucks. Who would buy this? That's not the case. Every product is not made for me. You know what I mean? So it was like Prime, for instance. I don't really like the taste of Prime, but Prime is geared towards kids and kids like the taste of it. So I learned to take my personal opinion of what brands taste like or even the packaging out of the equation and started looking deeper into the companies, more on the infrastructure of their team. Are they beverage people? Do they know how to go to market? What was their go to market strategy? Where did their money come from? Like, who did they have behind the brand? Who was going to be the face of the brand? And all of these things started to give me a better understanding as to what brands really have a chance of becoming big. So when I was like 22, 23, I'm 43 now, I joined this group called the NIDA Group. And it's a group of independent distributors that covers from Maine pretty much out to Pittsburgh and down to Delaware. And it's hundreds of years of combined experience between owner operators. So like I would cover Ocean and Monmouth County in New Jersey. And then there would be a distributor, high grade beverage above me that covered part of North Jersey. And then above him was Fisher Thompson. And basically these brands would come and present to us and we would take a look at them. And I would get immediate feedback from people who had so much more experience, who were multi-generational family business owners. And I would get an understanding as to why they thought this brand had a chance to succeed or what they didn't like about it. So besides spending my life in it, I got all of these combined experience. I got all of these influential people's thoughts and I got to understand their thought process on what they liked about brands and what they didn't like about them. So over time, I was able to develop this skill set to where when brands would present themselves to me, I feel like I had a pretty good understanding whether or not brands could make it or not. And it's not a guarantee by any means. So what I started to do was I thought maybe if I started to invest in some of these brands, it would give me a little more skin in the game. So for instance, when you sign a brand, you sign a contract with them that's for a certain term or over a certain amount of years. And then if they get acquired or if they move out of your distribution house, you get a buyout. So you get paid for the work that you did to help grow that brand. I thought to myself, if I invest in some of these brands, not only will I get the buyout, but if they get acquired, my stock will get purchased in the brand as well. So I could kind of double dip on them. So I started investing in brands. The biggest one I invested in was Buy, which was a New Jersey-based brand, and it sold for almost $2 billion. And that was really exciting. And I remember that day vividly, getting a call from Ryan Panza in the morning and driving out to the Buy headquarters, which were in Trenton, and Larry Young, who is the president of KDP at the time, coming in and everybody celebrating. And it was, they sold to Keurig, and it was a really exciting experience. And as an investor, it was super exciting. And what was great about it was the brand was independent and it got acquired by the same company that owns Snapple. So we didn't lose the brand either. So that was really nice. Point is, over time, I was able to figure out who I thought had a chance, or I had a better understanding, right? And I knew that one day I would probably want to create my own brand if the right opportunity was to arise. And that was the biggest, for me, that was the biggest hurdle, is what is the right opportunity? I can't compete in energy. I can't compete in premium water or seltzer or one of these ultra competitive, very established categories. So one of the brands that I invested in was Lemon Perfect. And I love that brand. And Yanni, the owner of Lemon Perfect, has become a personal friend of mine. He originally came in and his product wasn't shelf stable, but the thought of just lemon juice and water was very easy for consumers to understand. So a lot of times, these people who aren't in the industry, they put together these products, they taste great, they look great, but there's so much functionality that there's like mixed messaging in the product. And sometimes founders don't understand that you are not going to be able to be in the ear of the consumer when they're walking down the beverage aisle or looking in a cooler door to explain the benefits of your product. So Lemon Perfect was a very easy concept. It was fresh lemon juice with water. It was 5 calories, delicious. And what I really liked about it was I found myself drinking it at night. And that was a big one for me. You know, as a Snapple distributor, what was awesome about Snapple was you could drink it with a bagel in the morning, and then you could drink it with a slice of pizza in the afternoon, and then you could drink it with Chinese food at night. Like there was multiple points of consumption. And that's big. That means that gives a reason for the consumer to buy multiple units of your product per day. So, you know, think about certain products, and we can't even say it about energy anymore because I go into Wawa or 7-Eleven or wherever, and you see people drinking energy drinks at 8 o'clock in the morning. But typically, you would think that energy would be something that, you know, people would start drinking in the afternoon to get that extra boost of energy. So I was like, all right, multiple points of consumption. This is really good. And I was drinking that product, and I realized that when I give my kids juice, I'm always filling a quarter of the cup up with juice, and I fill the rest up with water because there's 40 grams of sugar in a 12-ounce serving of orange juice. And, you know, let's be real. I mean, anybody that has kids basically does this with their product, with their juice. And there's more and more people who are managing their sugar and calorie intake more than ever before. I mean, I was looking at the stat, it was like there's going to be 855 million people that have diabetes by 2050. That's a problem. And sugar is becoming a real public enemy. So, and now there's just so many products that have low sugar in them to where you don't need to consume, like you're not going to forfeit and waste your calories and your sugar on a drink because there's a lot of good options out there. So I thought to myself, and the more that I brought up this watering down juice concept to people, there were adults that were like, I kind of do the same thing with mine. I mean, if I drink a fresh glass, you know, if I drink straight orange juice, a full glass of it, it's too heavy for me. It doesn't sit well in my stomach. And I think that people's palates have changed over the past 20 years. It's like when I was growing up, people had 2-liter bottles of soda in their refrigerator. And it's like, that's not the way people grow up anymore. You see like seltzer and water are selling more than ever before. I think that people's palates have lightened up a bit. And I think that just straight juice is a little aggressive, right? So I started looking into the juice category, and I realized this is a void in my portfolio. And we carry all these different brands. We carry Snapple, Electrolyte, Poppy, Liquid Death, Jarritos, Vita Coco, Bai, Essentia, Evian, like, and then we have all the new brands too. And I was thinking to myself, I don't have any new juice. Like there's nothing cool going on in juice. I'm still selling Nantucket Nectar, which is like 40 years old. So I was talking to the other distributors that I'm friends with, and they were saying the same thing. Like, we really don't have any juice either. We're still selling Nantucket Nectar. We sell Everfresh. And I realized that the only innovation that's come out in juice are basically HPP, like fresh pressed juices. And a lot of those have a price point that is like hard for consumers to buy multiple units because it is an expensive process. So if the price of your product is $3.49 per bottle or $3.99 or even higher, it's really hard for someone who loves your brand to buy multiple units of that product daily. I looked into the category. We're talking over $16 billion juice category. And I'm like, wow, like this is a really big category that everyone's kind of turned a blind eye to. And I thought there may be an opportunity here. So I looked at the brands that had come out in the past decade, and there's just nothing cool. There's just nothing that is resonating with anybody. No cool branding, no brand voice. And the way that I looked at it was this could have two paths to success. So typically when I look at, or even three, typically when I evaluate brands, I think of it like this. You can have three paths to success. People could already be doing this with their product, but there isn't a product where it's already done. Like, remember like MCT oil was like a big thing and people were buying Blueprint, I think it's called Blueprint, and they would like put it into their coffee in the morning, and then Super Coffee came out with MCT oil in it, and it kind of gave them a competitive advantage. Or you see like protein, for instance, to where people would make protein shakes and now everything has protein in it. And it's because it's like a convenience item. It's convenient for someone to go and just grab a bottle off of the shelf and have all the attributes that they're looking for and the functionality that they're looking for. The second is you could be a better for you product. And that's a very broad stroke statement. But think about like what Poppy did. Poppy got soda. Every single person here knows what soda tastes like. Anyone that's listening to this understands what soda tastes like. Let's create a healthy version. Let's create a healthy soda and we'll market it and then we'll offer that to consumers. And these are flavor profiles that everyone is familiar with, which is a much easier lift than, let's say, Vita Coco, who had to introduce coconut water to Americans. So the whole rest of the planet was drinking coconut water. Americans never really drank coconut water prior to Vita Coco. And they had a heavy lift. They had to introduce a new flavor profile to consumers in our market. So I was like, all right, it kind of fits both of those avenues. And then the third was that the juice category is insanely stale. It's boring, like really, really boring. Like, when was the last time you saw a cool juice? And I thought to myself, all right, well, look at like what Liquid Death has done. Liquid Death got water and turned it into a culturally relevant product. And it's not about being cool. It's about money. Like, they are making a shit ton of money being a marketing company. And that's exactly what Red Bull did too. I mean, Red Bull was a marketing company who sold energy drinks. Liquid Death is a marketing company who sells water in a can, which was a very hard lift that people have been trying to do for a very long time. And they were able to break through and be the first to do it because they were culturally relevant product. They resonated with people. They used heavy metal, punk music, skateboarding, horror movies, and they targeted that crowd. They got that crowd to be loyal brand consumers, and then it spread from there. And like, one of the things I've heard Mike Cesario, who's the owner or founder of Liquid Death, say, like, you don't have to love horror movies to be a Liquid Death consumer. Think about it. It's like horror movies are doing hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, and every person that goes and sees a horror movie doesn't hang out at Hot Topic, you know what I mean? Or have, black hair and is dressed gothic. It's like, no, like it's pretty mainstream. We've all seen a horror movie at one point in our lives, right? So the point is, he was saying that it resonates with more people than you would think. It's not just your stereotypical heavy metal guy that likes it. It's like, so he ends up coming out with this product, and he is able to create this cultural brand. And I thought to myself, what if I'm able to do that with juice in a very stale category? And then I'm able to give people flavor profiles that they're already familiar with, that are completely loaded with sugar, and give them a low sugar, low calorie option of that product. And that could be a convenience item. So, we're like, all right. So the first thing I did was I called my friend John Borelli, who he's worked with a bunch of other brands. He had his own brand at one time, and he was like, juice water. This is very easy. Like, I like it. So we started talking, and we were like, we have to come up with a brand name. And, the name is really important. We're going to be selling this thing for hopefully the next decade. It's like, I had to come up with something good. And we threw hundreds of names around. And one of the names that I thought of was Loom. And first of all, it's 4 letters and it's easy for people to pronounce. And that sounds so stupid, but to this day, we still have people that call up our office looking for Bai that call it Baywater. So uh, being able to, or Guayaquil, yerba mate, like they just had to change. They didn't have to, but they changed their name. A very successful company. They just changed their name to yerba madre. And it's like, you want people to be able to pronounce the name of your product. And I was like, Loom could be cool because it could be short for heirloom, like a gift passed down through generations, because I grew up in the industry and my dad had shown me the ropes and I've learned through his hard work what it takes to make it. And he's put me in the position that I'm currently in. So we thought that was awesome. And we felt like that could resonate with people. And there's a deeper meaning to the name than just Loom, right? I also felt like if I name it after my dad and the heart and the people that have showed me the ropes, it's going to motivate me a little more to where I can't let this fail. I can't name it after my dad and then fail. Like, that's just not an option. So we found Loom, and then we had to come up with a brand voice. So like Liquid Death is Murder Your Thirst. And it's, around like what we were saying around heavy metal and whatnot. And we thought Juice from the Future could be cool because, one, in the future, people aren't going to be drinking juice with 40 grams of sugar in it, whether it's from us or not. Like, that's just not realistic. 2, the future could mean our children. I have 3 kids, and I water all their juices down. So my oldest son is about to be 11 this week. His name is William. My middle guy, his name is Bo. He's 8 years old. And my daughter is 7 years old, and her name is Nina Jones. And I was like, okay, like the future could mean the kids, but also it could mean, it gave us all these different avenues where we can create content off of. So like, I knew that if I was going to do the brand, it had to be super authentic to who I am. I can't pretend to be like, I know what 20-year-old TikTokers like. I know that I just have to be unapologetically myself and leave my fingerprint on the industry and leave my fingerprint on this brand, so that when I look back 20 years from now, I don't say, I wish I just would have went with what I liked. If I just do what I like, somebody else out there will like it. And I don't need 10 out of 10 people to like it. I just need 3 or 4 people to really love it. And that's something that you'll hear like Rick Rubin, like, which I suggest, I recommend his book. He's got a book where he talks about just the creative process. And I listen to all these books, all these audiobooks, like every day while I'm working as inspiration. And the Rick Rubin book about, he's worked with the greatest artists, the greatest musicians on the planet, and they have to make music that they like. And if you make music that you like, then you win. You're successful. It's like, if you're able to create something that you really enjoy, then you're a success. And I felt like if I'm able to create this brand and I really like it and it resonates with me, then I'm already one step ahead of the game. So we came up with Juice from the Future. And besides our kids and besides the people not drinking juice with 40 grams of sugar in it, it gave us avenues to create content. So like the future, let's be real, like artificial intelligence is the future right now. Like, our lives are about to change immensely. This is like the internet, you know what I mean? Like, coming to fruition. So like, we're about to really, I think things are about to change dramatically for all of us. But it'll allow us to play off of AI. It'll allow us to play off of the unknown, technology. outer space, aliens, different planets. It gives us this whole giant, broad, creative range, which is all stuff that I like. And I'm big into music, and I'm big into like psychedelic culture or hip hop culture or this or that. So we're able to incorporate all these different things into the product. So art as well. So that was really exciting. We're like, that fits perfect. Let's do something really trippy. I'm into the Grateful Dead, and I'm into Fish, and I'm into electronic music. And we're like, we can kind of incorporate all these different elements into the product. So we were like, all right, so first thing we got to do, we have to formulate a brand, formulate the actual liquid, which I had no experience in whatsoever. And we have to get labels made and get a package designed, and then we have to find somebody to do it. And I mean, we're jamming this into a hour-long podcast or however long this is going to be, but this took months and months and months. But I want to get you guys up to date as to where we are. So basically, a buddy of mine introduced me to Brian Tice, and Brian Tice was the creative director underneath Chad Portis at Buy. And we started talking, and we came up with a couple different label designs, and we ended up coming up with the label that you guys have seen today. And to this day, Brian is still in, the brand is as much his as it is mine. And it's been really fun working with him and doing the creative stuff. The creative stuff is the best part. Like I like all, being able to do things like this, like talk to you guys and let people know who we are and where we come from and what our vision is, and make people laugh, or, so that's the fun part of the business. So I feel really super grateful to work with a guy like Brian. He's just a great dude and such a kind soul. And he allows me to be myself, and he allows me to give ideas. He's obviously way more talented than I am when it comes to being creative and knowing what works for brands and what doesn't. But he still is like gracious enough to allow me to say, like, hey, I think like this might be cool, or like we should do this. And he's able to whip it together, and like he makes like my vision become a reality. So it's been one of the more rewarding parts of this entire process. So can't thank him enough. With that said, it was time to find a formulation house and a flavor house. This was a very difficult process. We went in. It's cool. You go into like a lab, and you go there in person, and then they start mixing the juice up. You say like, hey, listen, I want to create a product that is under 35 calories, less than 10 grams of sugar, but tastes great and tastes just like a normal juice. Like, okay, pretty vague, but whatever. And you go in, and you're in like this like little mini science lab kind of thing. And they start to get, they source the juice, and then they put it into this thing, and then they get flavors, and they add the flavors, and they do this and they do that. And then they give you these little cups, and then you sample it, and you say, oh, this one needs to taste like a little more grape. And this one needs, this one's a little too tart. And then they're able to formulate these products for you. So we went to a couple different flavor houses, and we tried them out. And eventually we got in touch with Marty Molina, who is the founder and the owner of Ocean Blue, which they formulated Lemon Perfect. And obviously I was a huge fan of that product, so much so that I invested in it, to where I was like, all right, let's go check these guys out. They're out in California. We formulated, and all of our stuff was shipped across the country to us, because I'm in New Jersey, and they would ship it over to us. And then I would sit around the kitchen, and I would share the samples with my wife and my kids. And I'd bring it into Seaview, and I'd have my main guys and my upper management try the product, and we would give our honest thoughts. And then I would write them emails and say, all right, this one has 8 grams of sugar in it and it's still kind of strong. I feel like we can make this, let's try it with 6 grams of sugar in it. Because obviously the less sugar and the less calories, the better. And we want to find that like happy medium to where it tastes amazing and with the lowest amount of sugar and the lowest amount of calories. But the truth is, with juice, you can't take the sugar out of the juice. And if you want to use real juice, you're going to get some sugar in your product. So we felt like if we obviously we had to be 100% natural. We had to be certified non-GMO, gluten-free, vegan, etc. So we came up with 4 flavors. We came up with fruit punch, apple, orange, and cotton candy grape. One, cotton candy grape I thought was cool because my kids eat cotton candy grapes, and like my mind was blown the first time that I had one when it was just a very bizarre concept to me. Why do these grapes taste like they have cotton candy in them? So I was like, I don't really know any other products that are cotton candy grapes. And I know that other people were eating them too. And I said, all right, maybe this will be cool. Maybe we'll be like the first cotton candy grape juice. So we got the 4 flavors eventually figured out. It took a while. We like had to get the company incorporated and like go through all the legal paperwork first. We used Giannuzzi Lewandon, who have been amazing. They basically represent all of the CPG brands. They pretty much became famous for working vitamin water through Exit, which at the time was like the biggest acquisition in the non-alc space for an independent brand. It was over $4 billion, and that was Mike Rapoli. And so we had to go through all the legal paperwork, and we got our business set up, and we got incorporated, and this and that, and we had this, and we had these flavors, and we were excited. But now we had to figure out, how do we put the liquid into the bottle? And that was a whole nother story. And that's something that we'll follow up on the next episode. But for now, I'll leave it at that. I want to do it the right way. And I want to tell the story from start to finish. And I think taking my time with it and really giving you guys the truth and like letting you guys know how it really went down is important. So I don't want to just jam the first 1.5 to 2 years of conception through production into an hour. I think that I would be doing myself and you guys a disservice. So this is going to be really fun. Some of it might not be fun. Some of it might be really heart-wrenching and very stressful, and I think that that's all part of it. And I want my kids to be able to look back at this, and I want to be able to look back at this one day and just remember the emotions that were involved in the day-to-day process of the business. But either way, as a first episode, I think that we're off to a good start, and I'm looking forward to having you guys all involved and along and like with me day to day as we build the next big brand in the beverage space. So thank you all. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and feel free to leave any comments and share. Obviously follow us on drinkloom.com, at drinkloom on Instagram, at drinkloom on TikTok, at drinkloom on YouTube. And let's get it. Let's get it. Loom, juice from the future. Talk soon.